Metafix is a show that teaches you how to think in the metagame. I am not here to give you the answers, nor am I going to tell you how to win. Metafix teaches you how to play in the metagame and how to react around the metagame and what is in the metagame. If you're looking for the answers, try HC Realms, check the forums, they have all kinds of neat toys and tools and teams being brought up, and check the results of a lot of the ROC tournaments or any Worlds tournaments to see how teams played out and what teams were used for. I'm just here to help you think.
So what classifies a character? Somebody asked me that a little while ago, is how do you classify all these characters as tent poles? How do you classify them as beatsticks? How do you classify them as things? So I'll just go over a broad overview of what makes a character, what we call them, because we have a lot of terminology in this game that we use to reference characters. Some people aren't 100% familiar with them. So, that said, let's start with the big ones. What is a one-man army? That is a character between the point value of 250 and 300 points, I'm going to get to that in a second, that is expected to carry the weight of your team. Now, when I say 250 up, I consider 250 a one-man army in the broader metagame because of resources. If you have the Superman from Trinity War at 250 points, you're playing him with a yellow power battery and a parallax. Don't talk back. That's what you're doing. That's a one-man army character, okay? Then we move into tent poles. Tent poles are anybody at 150 or more points that will generally be the centerfold of your army. Centerfold. Hey, baby. Now, the reason they're called a tent pole is much like a one-man army. This really, really tall drink of water holding up all your team. If he goes down, the entire tent comes crumbling around. Because more often than not, what surrounds a tent pole are just characters that make him better or add to his effectiveness. Kind of like a one-man army in that sense. So that's why we give them the phrase tent pole. Is if the pole on the tent goes down, the whole team goes down. And they're generally figures that become focal points of your team. And that's how they get that classification. Anything below that is generally just considered a character and what they do. Now, what they do will define another classification for them. A character with no range is often referred to as a brawler or a close combat character. Now, sometimes a close combat character it doesn't necessarily do a ton of damage, and they may just be there and have high defenses or plasticity, and that'll be referred to as a tie-up figure. A figure meant to be put next to your opponent's characters. Your opponent has either got the choice of run away or attack, and both are incredibly difficult. If they have plasticity, it means they're going to have to be rolling a 6 or less, depending on the size of the character or what powers they have, in order to run away from you. Or, if you have combat reflexes, they're going to be dealing with incredibly high defenses that you're just kind of sitting there going, ha ha ha, you can't hit me, deal with me. And you, believe it or not, they are trying to deal with you. So that was what we'll classify as a close combat tie-up figure. Otherwise, a close combat figure is generally defined by Blaze Claws Fangs, super strength, charge, the things that get them in there. And they're obviously meant for close combat to some degree. Of course, a glass cannon is a term coined from people who prefer role-playing games. They can hit damn hard, but they can't take it nearly half as good as they can dish it. A couple good examples of some glass cannons in the modern game. Banshee is one. Rocket Raccoon is a good example. Nick Fury is a good example. These are characters that can deal a ton of damage, but if they take any damage, you're going to hear the player using them cry about it in a lot of cases. So then we move into the lower end. So that's in the mid-range. So 75 to 125, you will see these classifications kind of tacked on to characters. And then sometimes below that point value, you'll hear about characters that are just cost-effective. So a good example of a cost-effective character is an Abin Sur. Now sometimes these characters do come with a downside. Abin Sur has a very negligible one if you think about the broader stake of the game. He's 8 range, 10 attack, 3 damage for 50 points. That's nuts. But if you prop an attack that missed him, he gets -1 defense on the new roll, and that's just not ideal. Characters like Power Ring, who have alternating powers of attack, but has a problem when he doesn't just move, is another character that will be cost effective, but balanced in another way. Another good example is the Ultron drones. 30 points, counts as 120. Really amazing for what you get for 30 points, even though it's only 2 clicks. It's 2 really meaty, beefy clicks, right? Support characters are, of course, the obvious ones. They're generally one-dimensional, low-point characters that just do a thing. A few examples include Atomica. She's 25 points as a CSA team ability. What does a CSA team ability do? Prob. That's it. Prob. She's small. She's hard to hit. She's got prob as a team ability. She generally just kind of carried around. The fact is, a lot of more support characters are becoming tiny size. Now, sometimes a support character is as high as 70 points, it can go up to 100 points in some cases. And what you're paying for is generally more support effects out of them. I think one of the highest point support characters I've ever seen has been Steve Rogers. At 150 points, not only does he add enhancement, he adds energy shield to characters, and he adds leadership to kind of take action tokens off, and he can attack too. I mean, that's a multifaceted Swiss Army knife of a character if you think about it. He's a supporting character who can also bring it hard nonetheless. What else do we have here? We have, so anyway, more examples of support characters include a lot of the reporters from the new Superman set. Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Lana Lang, the Newsboy Legions, the investigative reporters, all those would be considered support characters. They kind of do something either to your opponent's characters or to your own characters that kind of help make ends meet. I think that's about it for like character classifications. So when you're talking in the metagame, these are the kinds of things that people who use this language are referring to, and it's worth kind of knowing these things so that when you enter the conversation or talking to people who are helping you build your teams, you know what they're talking about. So yeah, that was this episode. I want to thank our patrons for voting on it. I forgot to thank them for the Nick Fury episode. And until then, thank you guys very much, and remember, practice makes your team better.
The opinions and thoughts brought to you in Metafix are not meant for the casual game at the table.
Married with Clix is brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. Check out the new premium site with MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. Check the link below. Trust me. Trying to remember that from me talking? Not going to help. You'll get awesome articles at $3 a month, with the first month being free, from amazing writers such as Paris Gordon, Easton Brock, Aaron Cantu. I'm even going to be contributing occasionally. And if you're familiar with the Meta Lab, check out some of Mike Payne's articles. So check it out again, MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders for your look into the minds of some of the greats.